Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's only daily television platform for small businesses. Over the past 7 years, we've understood what matters most to you, the entrepreneur. And in year 8, we're taking head-on 2 of your most pressing concerns, that of funding and mentoring. I'm Sunanda Jayaseelan. On the show tonight, 2 exclusive influencer conversations. First up is Aditya Ghosh of Oyo Rooms. On the other side for break is Praveen Dada of NetMeds. Our first conversation tonight is with Aditya Ghosh of Oyo Rooms. I asked him about the strategy at Oyo Rooms when it comes to the aggressive expansion plans that they have, what his feedback is for young entrepreneurs of today, and what it means to work with a very young workforce at the company. Take a listen. Aditya, great having you here on the Leaders of Tomorrow in our studio on what's going to be a very busy day for you, but we did manage to get some time with you.
But it's going to be busy because of ET, so...
So we've taken over your day.
Yes.
Thanks for your time here.
Thank you.
I want to start by talking about the fact that, and congratulations, you've just about completed a year at Oyo Rooms. What's that 1 year been like for you?
You know, so I think it's been a lot of like high energy, excitement, very exhilarating. Just at the pace at which, you know, things move here. And more than anything else, you know, there's that constant audacity to dream, and you know, putting up a big idea and then going to chase it. What that's meant for me, frankly, at a very personal level is that, you know, even after 20 years, every day I get to learn something new. And, you know, I kind of go back in the evening saying, you know, I didn't know about this in the morning and I learned something new today. And that's a pretty fortunate position to be in. You know, a lot of leaders, I think, may not be able to say that about their day job, where every day you're challenged. I think there are a lot of things that I can bring value to. But if I'm honest, many times in the day, I'll be like, you know, really at the edge of my comfort zone.
Sure.
But then that's the reason why I joined the place in the first place, right? So
yeah,
it's turned out to be great.
And that's something that I would love to, you know, pick your brains on, given the fact that till a year ago you were a part and you were the public face of a very high-profile brand.
Yes.
You're now the public face of an equally high-profile brand. What did you do that helped you learn? How did you quickly orient yourself? How did you learn the ropes? What advice can you give for a small business that's watching this interview about what helped you in this 1 year?
I guess I would break it up into stages, right? When you're kind of getting into a new playing field, I think it's highly advisable to shut the rest of the world out, like just dig deep into, you know, what you're learning. But most importantly, spend a lot of time with the front line, you know, people who are actually facing consumers and customers, right? The second is that, you know, usually you're surrounded by people who have done this before, or, you know, who've been in the company for a longer period of time. And it's very important to go out there and seek their help in trying to understand. And in those conversations, many times there'll be things that will come up, which will be like, you know, here is something we've been struggling with for a while, and then you kind of make a little note for it for yourself, saying, okay, you know, when I get to it, this is something that I'm going to work on.
Sure.
And the third piece is a deep belief in what the mission of that business is, right? I think even at Oyo, I mean, what keeps me excited every day and, you know, what makes me come to work is the fact that, you know, here's this once in a lifetime opportunity of creating the first truly global brand out of India, right? Where you can see it in every street corner across 500, 600, 700 cities around the world. And you can see a brand or a signage which comes straight out of India.
Sure.
That's, I think, very, very exciting. You know, because I had the opportunity of being involved in creating a brand which has now become quite well known in my previous role in India. And here is something where, you know, you're involved in something now which is getting known around the world. So I know it sounds like a cool thing to say, but that sense of mission and that sense of purpose really does bring a lot of learning Yeah.
Sure. So let me take a step back and talk about, Oyo, the brand, and
Yes.
Oyo's journey as well. Started in 2013 by
Yes.
Ritesh, given his own personal experience, out of his
Yes.
own personal
Yes.
experience. And it's been 6-7 years now.
Yes.
And Oyo, from where it started, has now expanded to pretty much, across the world, like you were saying.
Yes.
But I want to start at the initial days.
Yeah.
It was started as somewhat of, a budget brand. It was
Yes.
started in
Yes.
that bracket.
Yes.
What was what was really the sort of the vision or the mission really when that brand started out at a time when there wasn't really the concept of the model that you do, the
Yes,
leasing and franchising,
yes,
etc.
yes,
model?
Yes. Well, the mission, I think, or the objective was that can you go out there and put up quality living spaces at a much more affordable price than ever before?
Yeah.
Which is something, frankly, I've been involved with now for more than about a decade and a half.
Yeah.
That how do you take something or a brand or a product or a service where quality is associated with very high prices,
Sure.
or they are inaccessible, or they're few and far between, and you, with the scale and efficiency and just a very different approach, you can take that product or service and make that accessible to millions more
Yeah, absolutely.
at a much more affordable price, but ensure that you can still churn out a high quality product. And when I say high quality, what I mean is that how consistent are you
Yeah.
in delivering on what you're promising? I think that consistency and reliability is what builds great brands.
Okay.
So I think to that extent, we're still true to that original mission. We just now do it at a much, much larger scale and across various brands.
Okay, so you're saying consistency, for instance, is essential for a great brand.
Absolutely.
For an entrepreneur watching this interview, 2 or 3 things that you would say is at the core of having a great brand image
Yes.
for your investors,
Yeah.
for your customers.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, what do you think that they shouldn't be doing?
Yeah, great question. I think, if you break it down to those kind of simple 2 or 3 things, the very first is that do we understand the needs of the customer?
Okay.
As opposed to the wants, Customers want a lot of things, but is that what they're making a decision on, based on? So there are typically, 3 or 4 needs that the customer is really making a decision on. So then do you translate those needs into the product definition, right? I mean, and that brand, does it stand for those 3 or 4 things? The third is, before even, when somebody talks about brand, we typically think of brand campaigns and marketing
Absolutely.
campaigns, I'm actually several steps before that, and I'm saying, training people, skilling people up to deliver on that promise, communicating to the customer very clearly that this is what you can expect, 1, 2, 3, 4, and going out there and consistently trying to deliver this over and over again is what builds great brands. There's an economic benefit to it. The economic benefit to it is you're actually saving money on these expensive brand campaigns. You're saving money from all these advertising campaigns. And your biggest brand ambassadors become happy customers,
Okay.
which is far more than you will ever get out of a limited
Brand campaign, so to
campaign.
speak.
Yeah.
Okay. How about digital then? And
Yes.
that's something you're leveraging hugely at
Yes.
Oyo. That's something
Yes.
that you leveraged at your previous company as well
Yes.
when it comes to communicating the brand.
Yes.
What should you be doing? What shouldn't you be doing? And how can that really aid small businesses? Because you're talking about the economic
Yes.
cost and the economic
Yes.
advantage,
Yes.
and that's a huge factor.
What I've seen is that the digital medium has made it much more cost efficient.
Yeah.
You can reach out to people in areas or in cities or in segments that you couldn't reach earlier. But most efficient, most importantly, you can actually reach out to the customer with exactly what you want to tell that customer. So if there is a business customer who's traveling for 3 or 4 days, and he's one of the 40 top cities in the country, we will be able to communicate to that customer that I think you should use Oyo Townhouse.
Okay.
As opposed to, if we think that you're traveling for leisure and, you're looking for a quick accommodation for a short period of time and it should be affordable, then we'll probably sell you Oyo rooms.
Okay.
Or if we think that, you are you're a millennial and you're looking for a chic sort of a product, then Collection O. Now, this kind of very targeted campaign is possible because of digital. But having said that, I think that India is not a digital-only market.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You do need an omnipresence and an omni-channel sort of strategy. So in certain cities, it may be offline channels. In certain cities, it may be online channels. So don't kind of limit yourself behind a certain kind of fad. Let me call it that. The other is that Asia is often considered to be a mobile-first market.
Sure.
What we've increasingly seen is that especially India is almost a mobile-only market. So therefore, you got to kind of think of it this way: you actually have the ability to be in your customer's palm. It's only a question of getting there with the right message at the right price at the right time.
Talking about the omni-channel approach, and you're saying that India is not necessarily a mobile-only or say a digital-only market. My question is that you are also present in markets where the competition, if I can call it that, is highly fragmented. It's a very unbranded market. It's a very diverse market.
Yes.
How have you looked at that market? How do you look at this market? How do you ensure that you continue maintaining your USP in markets where perhaps price is the only concern? And for anyone who's watching this interview, who's perhaps based in the tier 3, tier 4 markets, who's perhaps competing in this unfragmented space, how are you standing out against competition? What are you doing when you're trying to build a brand, but there is perhaps no space for that?
Yeah. So I think let me step back to say, what is the core sort of promise that we're making, right? What do we do? Like, what do we do at OYO, right? And I kind of think of it in a very simplistic manner. What we are doing is we are going out there and providing safe and secure, clean and hygienic, affordable hotel rooms at a convenient location. Now, this sort of very core promise comes from one big brand value.
Sure.
Right? And if you can consistently keep delivering on that, so, our competition are many, as you said. If you are able to say, these are the 4 or 5 needs of the customer, and I'm going to continuously do this over and over again with my OYO brand, then that becomes your fortress, and you can actually compete with, this sort of very fragmented offering that is on the other side.
Okay. I'm going to take a quick break. On the other side, NetMeds is joining us live on the show. Do stay tuned. Back in just a moment. Welcome back. With us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. Our second influencer conversation tonight is with NetMeds. Pradeep, good having you joining us on the show today. Let's start by talking about the online pharmacy space, how that's been changing, and give us a brief sense of the journey really at NetMeds.
Hey Sunanda, thanks for having me over at the show. The most important aspect of making NetMeds India's most convenient pharmacy is the access to medicines and access to delivery across the entire country, the length and breadth of the country. We have customers from 92% of India's PIN codes, and hopefully in near time to come, we would cover or have customers from 100% of India's PIN codes. So this way, making the product accessible is the key, and in terms of the variety of SKUs that we have, as well as in terms of the delivery reach that we have, we make it convenient to order medicines wherever you are.
Pradeep, even as you're talking about the business model at NetMeds, I do want to talk about the fact that, I understand you deliver medicines even to the most rural towns, areas, remote corridors, etc. Do give me a sense about the robust distribution network that you have in place.
Sure. So just to give you a little background, we work with various distributors and pharmacies across India. Given that fact, most of our distribution hubs are primarily situated in tier 1 and tier 2 cities, And the last mile delivery actually is done through one of the available third-party logistic providers, including India Post. That way, we're looking at product that is actually picked up. When a customer is going ahead and placing an order, he is placing an order from his hometown, which could be somewhere, just for ease of understanding, could be a small village in Rajasthan, and he places an order. Then the order actually gets picked up from depending on two primary criteria. One being the product that he's actually ordering and the availability of the product in the vicinity. It gets picked up from the closest possible partner pharmacy / distributor that's available, and then it actually gets delivered to him into his hands at the earliest time frame. So that's how it works. So the idea is it's basically a network of pharmacies and distribution centers which are laid out pan-India, and then it gets picked up from the closest one and takes it into the hands of the patient.
Beyond just, of course, access to the prescription drugs, there is also basic information which is perhaps most needed also on the part of your customers, and you're the best person to comment on this. When it comes to just information on the drugs that they're taking, perhaps, is that a huge gap that you see in India, and how are you bridging that?
Sure, there are a couple of things that we do to improve access. The idea in which we are functioning is primarily to work towards improving the access of healthcare. Everything now. When you look at healthcare, you're looking at availability of doctors through teleconsulting. You're looking at products that are actually delivered into the hands of the consumer. Third would be primarily data that's going to help him understand his illness as well as the product that he's consuming, as well as build a community of like-minded patients who could interact with each other. So this is the holistic approach that we are looking at, in which we are going ahead and building information that could help anybody who is transacting or is a customer of NetMeds actually get a holistic view, handling his entire disease.
Let's talk in depth about your business model. Just break that down for us to help our viewers understand how you've developed this model, where there are a lot of companies which are perhaps in the online pharmacy space. Your model is very different from what we're seeing right now and around us. Just talk to us about that.
I think we are working towards, I wouldn't say that we have everything sorted, but we are working towards making our entire customer user experience, delivery experience, everything, moving towards making it better day by day. And as we are building the company, we are looking at making sure that we achieve the highest laurels that are possible.
You have 3 million customers, I understand, as we speak. What's the key to building brand loyalty, Pradeep?
So on netmeds.com, we have alternate products that are actually available with the same chemical composition. So if you were a patient and you were looking at various alternatives that are available, we have them available. So you could have a product A from a manufacturer X, and you can have a product B from a manufacturer Y having the same chemical composition available, and the 2 prices available. So you could take a call if you were to look at the product which is cheaper, and if you would want to go ahead with that alternative, that information is available. However, for us to dispense that particular product, you would have to go ahead and speak to your doctor and make sure that the prescription allows you to do so, because basically we are not allowed to substitute in the country at this point. When we are looking at brand loyalty, one very important aspect in any business while building brand loyalty is, one, the customer experience. Second, in terms of making sure that you are meeting the customer requirements and the customer expectations. So if you have a combination of these 3 working in our favor, it would definitely help in building customer loyalty.
All right, let's close this interview by talking about what next for you, and anything that you can talk about which is exciting and on your radar in the short term.
I think the next for NetMeds is to go ahead and build on the various stepping stones or the foundation that we have gone ahead and built, and look at increasing our customer base, making sure that we have a higher density. We have about 92% of the pin codes covered, but we might not have the same density across all our pin codes. So the work is towards improving access of healthcare, thereby making healthcare more accessible and affordable, and working towards that is our goal.
Pradeep, so good having you here on the show with us tonight.
Thanks, Sunanda, for having me over at the show. It was great chatting with you.
That wraps up tonight's episode. If you have any feedback for us, do let us know. Our contact details up on your screens in just a moment. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.